The silent signal. Evelyn tapped the Morse code key with practiced precision, her hand steady even as the radio hummed with danger in the occupied farmhouse. Henri adjusted the frequency, his keen ears listening for the faint reply from across the fields, where their message would reach allied ears. Marie waited outside, her breath visible in the cold night air, her eyes scanning the darkness for signs of a German patrol. Luca, the teacher-turned-resistance fighter, studied the codebook, ensuring every word they sent was encrypted beyond recognition by the enemy. The radio crackled to life, the reply brief but clear: the Allies had received their message, and the operation was a go. Evelyn allowed herself a brief smile, knowing their work tonight could turn the tide of the war, even if it meant risking everything. Henri dismantled the radio with the precision of a surgeon, packing it away in a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards. They couldn't stay in one place too long. The German forces had increased their patrols, and the risk of discovery grew with every transmission. Marie led the way out of the farmhouse, her footsteps silent as she navigated the familiar paths through the woods, always alert. Luca followed closely, the codebook clutched to his chest, knowing it contained their lifeline and their greatest vulnerability. As they reached the edge of the village, Marie signaled for the others to stop, her sharp eyes catching movement near the old church. A German patrol passed by, their boots crunching on the gravel road, unaware of the resistance fighters hidden just a few meters away. Evelyn held her breath, her heart pounding in her chest as the soldiers paused, their flashlights sweeping the area. Henri's hand hovered over his concealed knife, ready to act if necessary, though he prayed it wouldn't come to that. The patrol moved on, their voices fading into the distance, and the group exhaled in unison, their silent relief palpable. They continued their journey to the next safe house, where another radio awaited, hidden beneath a loose floorboard in the attic. Henri set up the new transmitter, his hands moving quickly and efficiently, the routine now second nature to him. Evelyn began to tap out the next message, her focus absolute, even as the tension in the room thickened with every passing second. Luca's mind raced as he reviewed the codes, ensuring their messages remained indecipherable to anyone without the key. Marie stationed herself by the window, her ears attuned to every sound, every rustle of leaves, every distant footstep. The message sent, Evelyn leaned back, her hands trembling slightly as the adrenaline coursed through her veins. Henri gave her a reassuring nod, though they both knew there would be no rest until the war was won, or they were caught. The next morning, Marie delivered a small package to a local baker, a seemingly innocuous transaction that contained vital information for the Allies. The baker, another member of the resistance, would bake the message into a loaf of bread, which would then be delivered to a nearby town. Luca marveled at the ingenuity of their operations, each step designed to avoid detection, each member playing their part to perfection. But the danger was ever present, and they knew it was only a matter of time before the Germans grew suspicious. As the weeks passed, the group became increasingly cautious, their movements more calculated, their trust in one another unshakable. Henri developed new ways to hide their equipment, using everyday objects to conceal transmitters and codes in plain sight. Evelyn's skill with Morse code became legendary among the resistance, her messages brief but packed with crucial intelligence. Marie's role as a courier took her across the countryside, where she used her knowledge of the terrain to evade capture time and again. Luca's codes grew more complex, his efforts to keep their messages secure a constant challenge that he met with quiet determination. But as their success grew, so did the risk, and the German forces began to close in, their patrols more frequent, their searches more thorough. One night, as they prepared for another transmission, a loud knock echoed through the safe house, sending a jolt of fear through the group. Henri motioned for silence as they listened, their hearts pounding, the knock repeated, more insistent this time. Marie slipped out the back, her small frame disappearing into the night, ready to lead any pursuers away from the others. Evelyn's hands shook as she prepared to destroy the radio, knowing they couldn't afford to leave any evidence behind. Luca grabbed the codebook, ready to burn it if necessary, though the thought of losing their hard work pained him deeply. But when Henri opened the door, he was met with a familiar face, a fellow resistance fighter, out of breath and with urgent news. The Germans were closing in, he warned, and they had little time to escape before the area was swarmed with soldiers. Henri quickly gathered their equipment, every second precious as they prepared to flee the safe house for the last time. Evelyn's mind raced as she considered their options, knowing they couldn't outrun the Germans forever. Luca suggested a new plan, a final transmission, one that would send a crucial piece of intelligence directly to the Allies. It was a risky move, but they agreed it was their best chance to make a lasting impact before they had to disappear for good. With the radio set up, Evelyn tapped out the message with steady hands, her heart heavy with the weight of their decision. Henri monitored the frequencies, making sure their signal was strong enough to reach the Allied forces despite the interference. Marie returned, her cheeks flushed from the cold, her eyes burning with determination as she took her place by the window once more. Luca watched as the message was sent, knowing this would be their last act of defiance, their final contribution to the war effort. The radio crackled with a brief acknowledgement, and the group allowed themselves a moment of triumph, knowing they had done all they could. As they prepared to leave, the distant sound of approaching trucks reminded them that their time was up. Henri led them through a hidden tunnel beneath the floorboards, their escape route carefully planned for this very moment. The tunnel led them to a small clearing in the woods, where they would part ways, each heading in a different direction. Evelyn hugged each of them tightly, knowing it could be the last time they ever saw each other, though their bond would remain unbroken. Henri promised to find her again once the war was over, though they both knew the future was uncertain. Marie slipped away first, her small figure quickly disappearing into the dense forest, her destination known only to her. Luca followed, his mind already working on new codes, new ways to resist, even as he walked into the unknown. Evelyn and Henri shared a final look, their unspoken words hanging in the air before they too went their separate ways. The clearing was silent once more, the only evidence of their presence the faint footprints leading into the forest. The group's final transmission reached the Allies in time, and the information they provided played a crucial role in a major victory. Though they never saw each other again, their legacy lived on, their courage and ingenuity remembered by those who knew their story.